Most of us go about our busy day living in a world overrun by greed, stress, and competition. We think that getting one up on our fellow humans is the path to happiness. You see this right here on YouTube, where you have a platform that isn't based on originality or integrity, but rather, who can manipulate the algorithm best. But what if I told you, there was a time in this country where people didn't have to worry about corrupt websites or evil algorithms? A time before teens were glued to their stupid phones. A time with no cable TV, no internet, no microwave ovens, and yes, no computers, and we were better for it. In fact, it was a day like no other. It was Sundays in the 1970s. There was no terror threats, no war on drugs, no school shootings. Corporations didn't own the government yet, and our dreams and future seemed stable and bright. So kick back and relax as we take a trip back in time to why Sundays were awesome in the 70s. If you were young in the 70s, you would usually start your day with a bowl of cereal, but not just any cereal. Maybe you would wolf down a bowl of Freaky cereal or Pink Panther flakes. Sometimes mom or dad would have the grill going and make hot, delicious Aunt Jemima pancakes. You could get them in a frozen block pre-mixed and just thaw and pour in those days. Stores were closed on Sundays and most people had hobbies. One of the biggest fads was painting ceramics. The ceramic Christmas tree was one of the more popular ones. Lots of kids built models in the 70s. The Aurora Monster models were especially fun to collect. Another reason why Sundays were awesome in the 70s was the fact that everyone listened to American Top 40 with Casey Kasem. He would count down the biggest hits in the land while reminding you to
keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
If you decided to venture out in your neighborhood, you did it on one of the coolest bikes of the 70s, the Huffy Thunder Road. Girls got in on the action with their very own version, called the Sweet Thunder. If you were really lucky, you got to cruise the streets back then in a Schwinn Stingray 5-speed. All that bike riding made you hungry, and before you knew it, it was time for lunch. With no microwaves, having lunch in the 70s usually consisted of a ham and cheese sandwich, or maybe peanut butter and jelly. It was fun to put it on Roman meal bread, which always made you feel like a gladiator in the Roman Empire. Many people enjoyed fried bologna and cheese. You could wash it all down with a big glass of Hawaiian punch or Kool-Aid. Funny Face drink mix was also very popular, as well as High C, which came in metal cans back in the 70s. Many people remember just eating cheese with Royal Lunch milk crackers. The originals were made by Nabisco and were a favorite of many. TV dinners were also fun to eat, but they took forever to make and usually came out of the oven scalding hot with your mashed potatoes still frozen in the center. The dessert portion could be devoured in seconds. Libby Land adventure dinners were especially popular with kids at the time. Everyone was into roller skating in the 70s, including Kim Richards, of Escape to Witch Mountain fame. Sunday drives were always fun in the 70s. Everyone would pile into the biggest station wagons ever made and head off to the beach, or maybe for a great deal at A&W Root Beer. The burgers and fries were the best. Kentucky Fried Chicken was also very popular in the 70s. Their big bucket of chicken was actually orange and white in those days. And the secret recipe was still finger-lickin' good. The one thing we all loved about Sundays in the 70s was going to the movies. We got to see the best sci-fi and family films ever made. We also got to see the scariest horror films that would give you nightmares for weeks. Before you knew it, it was time to start getting ready for bed, because you had to get up early for school the next day. Parents also did the same because they knew that the television was going to shut off at midnight anyway with nothing but static on the screen. Thankfully, the movie Poltergeist hadn't come out yet. If you liked this trip down memory lane, then why not hit the subscribe button and get on board the love train of nostalgia? See ya next time.